Hello and welcome back everyone to this live demo session on SAP BTP Cloud Workflow Training and Business Process Management using SAP Business Technology Platform. In this next training, we are going to learn about the core capabilities of SAP BTP Cloud Workflow and also the entire business process management using low-code, no-code approach into SAP BTP. In today's demo session, we are going to look at what is the overview of this course. We will talk about who is this training for. Then we will talk about our demo use case. Then we will see a live demo in the system for implementing our first workflow. Followed by that, I will have some of the frequently asked questions by you also included in this demo session. This is a 25-hour training to complete end-to-end demonstration and development, including design, development, testing, and deployment of your workflows into the cloud. So let's understand who is this training for. So if you're working as James Glass, who is a workflow developer in classical ERP and would like to understand how to develop workflows into the cloud using SAP BTP and Process Management Cockpit, this training is going to help you. If you're working as a workflow administration like Imran Syed, who would like to configure and connect to on-premise system and also manage workflow services inside the BTP along with monitoring of workflows, this training is also going to help you. If you are like Vibhuti Shah, who is a business expert, would like to configure end-to-end business processes using SAP Business Process and Workflow Management Service in BTP, along with customizing and adapting the standard workflow packages delivered by SAP using process flexibility, this training is also going to help you. Finally, if you are Emily Watts, who's any kind of SAP consultant or SAP CPI consultant who is currently working on integrations and would like to utilize SAP Workflow Management Service along with Integration Suite, this training is also going to help you. So what can you expect in next 25 hours of this training? So we will first phase understand the basics of SAP BTP. We will talk about introduction to what SAP BTP platform is all about. Along with we will discuss about the workflow management inside BTP. In the phase 2, you will deep dive inside the business process management in the cloud and understand the SAP BTP cloud workflow offering. We will talk about business rules, launchpad into the cloud, process flexibility and process visibility applications for the business experts, and also talk about integration with APIHUB. Along with that, we will talk about design and development of cloud workflow, different steps, technical steps involved, along with integration to the business rules. You will learn end-to-end process of developing cloud workflows into SAP Business Application Studio tool. In the fourth phase of this training, we will discuss about how to utilize standard workflow content delivered by SAP, import the content, deploy to your production system, integrate and utilize the APIs, and also create connections to your systems along with APIHUB. We will talk about creating process templates and also work with process visibility cockpit. In the last phase of this training, we will discuss technical integration with APIs, creating and working with cloud connector and destinations, deploy and deliver end-to-end workflows and business processes and the complete life cycle in this process. So that will be in a nutshell covered in the course. If you would like to see the detailed course content, please check the link into the description of the video to go to our course page and see the detailed course content of this training. So what is the demo use case today we have? So today we are here to design a simple workflow to fetch details of our assembly elections data from our S/4HANA system for a democratic party. In this demonstration, we will show you using a simple workflow which will have a service task to contact our S4HANA system where we created a database table and a OData service to store the assembly elections data of India. We will pass input parameter as the party name, the election commission party, and then we will fetch the total number of votes acquired by that party into the elections. A very simple and easy use case for you to understand. Please note that it's a demo session. So there may be many things which you may not understand in this demo because at the moment your knowledge level on BTP or cloud workflow is very low. Throughout this journey, I will make sure that I will teach all the basics and everything in detail when we go to the detailed training. If you are new to the workflow itself, don't worry. This training is also going to help you to master end-to-end on workflows. Having said that, let's look at the steps what we are going to do. So first we are going to open up our development platform, which is called SAP BTP Cockpit. Then we will open our development tool, which is SAP Business Application Studio. Then we will create a workflow project as a multi-target application in cloud. We will enhance this workflow to call our external system and read the data from S4HANA. And then we will test and deploy our workflow to the cloud. Many of these steps you may not be so easily comfortable because maybe some of you are very new to the BTP platform. In my next session, I'm going to cover the introduction to BTP for you. For demonstration purpose, today I have already completed the first two steps, setting up my BTP account and also setting up the environment to be able to develop and design a workflow. So let's go to the system and now try to see how can we create a workflow inside BTP. So I'll switch over to my browser, and in my browser I have this development tool called SAP Business Application Studio. How I reach to Business Application Studio, how I create a free account, and how you all will also be able to practice all these things in your system. We are going to talk about it in the next class. Today is a demo session, so I just wanted to take you through an end-to-end demo without overwhelming you with all the steps to set up your development environment. We are going to see setting up development environment in the next class. So what I've done already, I have created a BTP account, and inside this BTP account, I have already configured the standard SAP BTP Workflow service. Let me show you the workflow service which was already configured by me inside my BTP account. So just think of a BTP account is a platform where you can activate different services and you can utilize these services to do development on top of it. So what I've done already is I have created here a subscription to our SAP BTP Workflow service. So you can see workflow management. So if you are very new to BTP, don't worry. In the next class, we're going to also look at the introduction to BTP. In addition, at the bottom, you can see I have also configured a workflow service. So if you just come down, you can see I have created a workflow service over here of service type as workflow already in my account. So when we are going to develop our application, we would want to utilize this workflow service to deploy our cloud workflow, compile it and put it into the cloud. So that is what this service is capable of. It can understand what you write, it can compile, and it can also provide the runtime environment for your workflow into the cloud. So moving on to our development system, which is so-called BAS or Business Application Studio in short, we are going to start creating a very simple, fresh BAS application. This application will be of type a multi-target application because in order to work with SAP BTP, we always use MTA type of application. So first I will go to help and welcome page. And here I will create a application from template. And then I will choose a basic multi-target application to develop my first workflow application. I click on next. I will provide the name of my project. Let's say demo workflow. and I'll click on finish. So you will see in a second that a new application demo workflow has been created over here. But if I try to add a workflow into this, it will give me an error saying that workflow module does not exist. So basically this application does not know that the purpose of this application is to develop workflow. So you know, I know, but computer don't know. So to make computer know, we need to initialize a workflow module inside this app. And in order to do that, we can press F1 or we can choose view find command, and we can search here a module called at generator. So we will choose here an option called run generator. And now you can see the predefined generators provided by SAP for initializing our project. In this, you can see there are different types of modules related to the workflow as well. And what we will be using today for this demonstration is a workflow module of type simple. Yes, this is the one I will be choosing. I click on that. And now the system is going to run this generator, and it is going to ask me some simple questions. So first it asks me, where is your MTA YAML file? You can see it here. What is MTA? MTA stands for multi-target application. What is YAML? It's a description of your application, which is a multi-target application. I'm going to talk about it in unit number 7 in detail. So we have a 1-hour lecture only on MTA YAML. So for now, just understand it is describing the properties of your application. So now I will choose the location of my MTA file. So I go to projects, directory, and I say demo workflow, and this is my MTA file. Wow. The next step, you can see system has picked up everything, and I will just say here, module name is elections, because I would want to develop a workflow to fetch elections data from my S4HANA. I click on next button. I will now provide a namespace. A namespace uniquely identifies a workflow in your organization. So I can say anubhav.training. And then I will put here the workflow name. So we can keep it as elections. And you can say workflow to fetch vote count. I click on finish. And now you can see it created a folder elections with also a default workflow called elections.workflow. So we are going to talk about the structure of this folder in detail in unit number 7 and 8. I'm going to explain all the folder structure, what are all these folders for, yeah. But right now, let's proceed with our workflow. So it created a very simple basic template with a start and end event. As you know, typically a workflow consists of activities, decisions, inputs, and outputs. So now we are ready to insert a task inside a workflow, and workflow offers different variety of tasks. So the main purpose of a workflow in real-time business is to automate something. Now, automation is all about getting something done by computer in a automatic way. For example, if you want to go for vacation, and in order to go for vacation, you can ask your manager. Your manager says, okay, you can go, and you go away. In the same way, if you have a team size of 40 people, if everybody asks your manager they want to go for vacation, it will be hard for your manager to remember and also plan. So what manager can perhaps do is utilize a workflow where manager asks you to go to a workflow and create a leave request. And that leave request will then land to the inbox of manager. And no matter wherever manager is or whenever he is free or she is free, they can go ahead and approve your leave request. So that way you know that you have a legal approval to go for vacation, and manager also know how many leave requests they have approved or rejected. Yes. So this entire process, rather than having a manual process of talking each other, we have automated using a business workflow. We are going to cover the theoretical part of the workflow in our next unit in detail as well, so that you understand the essence of automation and essence of workflow in real business. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a task. So you can see it's literally very low code. There is absolutely very low or no code which we need to write, or we no need to write any code indeed. to be able to design such a workflow. So I can click here now, and you can see I can insert a task, and there are these 5 types of tasks. So user task is the task where you would want your end user to take an action. For example, a manager has to approve or reject a leave request. A service task is predominantly used to take a call to a external service. For example, I want to talk to my SAP S/4HANA system. In that case, I can use service task. In this case, we use an API to communicate. Then we have the script task where you want to manipulate some data or run some application logic. You have the mail task to trigger email. And finally, you have reference task to reference another workflow inside your main workflow for basically modularization purpose. So for simplicity, today we will use a service task. As I told you that I would like to read the data of party results from my S/4HANA system. So I want to communicate to my S/4HANA system. So I click on service task, and we can name the service task as say fetch elections data. And this is my service task. You can see there is a small error which says that it's mandatory to define certain properties for this task to run. No problem. Now, I would want to also customize my execution of this service task based on input parameter. So we can go to the starting step of the workflow and go to detail to create a context. A context is nothing but the runtime data which is consumed and edited by your workflow. That is what a context is all about. Think about it's a memory where you read and store the data when your workflow runs. So we can create a file now, and let's call it as elections.json. Typically the file name always have extension .json. We will talk about the basics of JSON in the next class. If you're new to JSON, don't worry. I'm going to explain that in detail. So now I can go to this file, and you can see it has created some sample data, but I don't like it. I just remove everything, and I put here party name. And I put here the party name as BJP and as save. So I just created a elections.json with a party name as BJP. Yes, that's one of the party in India. And now I can go back over here to basically utilize the same parameter, which is party name, to call a service. And this service is actually existing in my S/4HANA system. So I can just show you quickly the service. So this is the service you can see is present in my S/4HANA system, my company S/4HANA system. And when we pass a party name to this service, the service is returning me how many votes this party has gained in the elections, assembly elections this year. Yeah. So if you can just go and change the INC, Indian National Congress, it will tell you the number of votes INC has got. Yes. So what is basically we doing? We are passing here the parameter. So this is what I have just created on my workflow as well. So what I'll now do is I select my service step and just go to details, and we will choose here destination. So this is basically a connection to your company system. It could be SuccessFactors, Ariba, Fieldglass, Concur, S/4HANA, or any third-party system. So this also I have already created in my SAP BTP account. I'm going to show you each and every step in detail when we go to the detailed training. I'm going to show you how do you can create also destination for your connections to your company system. So we are going to learn all of that in our training. Yes. So we will use this destination name CFN. And now I will choose service from my this destination, and I will put the path or the address of my service. So to get the address of my service, I'll go back to the service call, and I just grab this complete address. And then I can go back and put that address over here. You can see. And what we can do is we can just save. So the moment I save, you see again, it's telling me an error that path must not be encoded, which means whatever service address you have copied, it's perhaps having some encoded parameters, like you can see this %20. So we need to get rid of it. Bye-bye. Yes. And that's a space essentially. And single quote and single quote. But guys, interesting thing here is I don't want to hard code the party name. I want to have different election parties to be passed at runtime to my workflow so that it can fetch data for different election parties. So for that, we can use our context now. If you remember a few seconds ago, I have created a context with called party name. So I can come back and mention the same over here in my context. So I can say dollar context. This is the way you can access the data from your workflow context, and then you can say party name. It's case sensitive, so just be a little careful. Yeah. Okay, this looks good, and it's a GET request, and the result should be stored back to my context itself. So I will say whatever result is produced by this service call, please go and put that result back to my context. So I can say dollar dot dollar curly braces context dot data. So I can just put the data back to the data node of my context, which will be created at runtime by the system. Cool. That is it. And we are good to go. So let me save my workflow now. So we have just created a very simple workflow in last 20 minutes. Nothing complex. It was super duper simple. Just a service task making a call to our company S/4HANA system where we have an API. Yes. Of course, as and when we progress in this training, I'm going to show you some of the very, very complex workflows where you will call multiple systems and fetch data and communicate and do a lot of processing. There will be user tasks, there will be approval, and there will be a lot of things. Yes. Okay. So now the workflow is ready. The next thing which we have to do is adapt this MTA YAML file. So I can open this file in an MTA editor. That's a beautiful graphical editor. And in this, you can see our workflow is actually using a service. Yeah. So you can see it's our elections workflow folder. It's using a service called workflow, which is a resource. And this resource is also defined over here, which says it's going to be a managed service of type workflow. What it means that in order to run this application, in order to run our workflow into the cloud, it requires a dependency, and that dependency is of type a workflow service. Yes. So that's a backing service. I'm going to explain the concept of backing service in next class when I explain you what is BTP in general. So you'll understand this very well. But for time being, if you remember when I started the episode, I showed you that I have already created a backing service of type workflow in my BTP account. So what I will do is now I will not create a new backing service. I don't want to flood my account with so many services. Rather, I would reuse this backing service WM workflow. So go back and I choose now here a existing service. So you can see existing service and as a service name, and that's going to be the WM workflow. That's an existing service. Yeah. So I will tell the system that please don't create a new service, rather use my existing backing service, which was already created to run my workflow, to deploy my workflow, to run my workflow. Okay, we are done. And now it's time to deploy. To test this application, we can right click and package this application to a new file called MTA archive. So we will say build my project. And the moment you build, it's going to compile and package your project into an MTA archive, multi-target application archive, which is a deployable unit to the cloud. So we got that, and I can right click and say deploy. And this starts the deployment of my workflow to SAP BTP Cloud Foundry environment. You can see it's contacting to the service, and you can see it's deploying. You can always see the log. So we are going to also learn troubleshooting and everything in our training. During the development, if you get issues at design time or runtime, how do you trace? How do you track them? How do you solve them? How do you administer your workflows? Everything is part of the training. Okay, so we are done. And now in order to test this, we need to go to something called SAP Workflow Cockpit. So it's basically created over here as a workflow management application to manage all the workflow related applications. Yes. And you can see it opens up here. And now, since we do not have any user involvement, we can go ahead and test our workflow directly using something called monitor workflow. So first we'll open this application to see all the available workflows in my system. So you can see I have a couple of workflows, but the one which I've created today with you is elections. I'll choose that and I will say start a new instance. I would like to trigger this workflow. I want to start this workflow. So in classical ERP, if you see, there is something called SWDD transaction. There you have an execute button to test your workflow, and then you can go to the workflow logs using SNIAT code, right? But here it's completely cloud. It's all runs in the browser. There's no T code. So I come here and I start an instance of my workflow, and you see I'm passing the party name as BJP. So it's going to go and pass my parameter as BJP, and it's going to get all the votes which BJP has got from my S4HANA system. So I say start and close, and it's going to start an instance. You can see, and now I can right away jump to the instances. So I can say show instances of this service, and you will see here all the instances. So there is a default filter for error. You just have to go to filter and reset all the filter, so it can show you all the instances. So now you see there's an instance called elections, and the status is completed without any error. And if I just go back to the context of the workflow, voila, you can see I have received the data, and it has got me a data with the BJP as a party, and then I've got the number of votes which BJP has got during that election. So it has contacted my Swarana system. So you can see also a beautiful graphical execution log of your workflow, how much time it took to perform all the steps. So this is very helpful for troubleshooting as well. So I wanted to be a little bit, more smart, and I wanted to go back and retry. So let me just go back and rebuild this workflow with a different context. So I can come here and I can say Aam Aadmi Party. Yes, I think let me just go and check the code for Aam Aadmi Party, and just going to put here it's triple AP. That's the code. Yes, it's correct. And I save. Let me repackage my workflow. So I'm going to build again and deploy my workflow one more time. Okay, it's built, and let's deploy my workflow. And you can see the deployment has started once again. So we are not piling up the reusable service again and again. Rather, we are reusing the same workflow service, which is WM workflow, which is responsible for deployment and execution of your workflows. Yes. So let the deployment finish, and then we can go back to the workflow management application. And I just go back to the previous steps. And this time you can see it has got a new version of my workflow. Perfect. Let's click on start. And you can also change the parameter here, guys. You don't need to redeploy, but I just showed you redeployment because I wanted to demonstrate the version change. So you can also change at runtime here the value of the party name to test. So I can click on start, and you see it started. Let's go to the instances, and now you have, okay, it was amazingly fast. And now you can see the number of votes which the Aam Aadmi Party have got during the assembly elections was total of this much. Cool. So that is how exactly we can create a very simple workflow in SAP system. I hope you enjoyed this demo session. So let's move on to some of the frequently asked questions by you. So do I need to have prior knowledge on BTP for this training? No. We will cover the BTP foundation for you in this course end to end. So we are going to make you expert into everything starting from scratch. Even you no need to have any prior experience on workflows also. You're absolutely a fresher out of college. You can also learn this training. How much is the scripting knowledge required for this course? So we need basics of JavaScript along with the basic knowledge on JSON. But don't worry, we will provide complimentary video tutorials for learning JSON and JavaScript basics. I'm a workflow consultant with ABAP knowledge. Is this course going to suit me? Yes. So if you're working as a workflow consultant or BPM consultant or as a ABAP consultant, this course is going to help you because there is a profile in the market called SAP BTP Workflow Developer. You can apply the job for that profile. It's a very hot job opening in the market for consultants who can develop workflows in cloud. So this training is going to help you to master and become a cloud workflow consultant. I'm a CPI consultant. How is this course going to help me? So as a CPI consultant, cloud platform integration consultant, or integration suite consultant, today you are dealing with pre-packaged content. And these pre-packaged content also consist of many workflows as well. So that's where this training is also going to help you to learn about the workflow nitties and gritties, and also adopt the cloud workflows once they're deployed during integration suite or integration process. So what about the server access? So guys, server access for this is free. We are using a trial account for BTP where you can practice all the features which I will demonstrate in this course. So I will show you in the next class how to set up your server on your own, and absolutely free. That's part of this training. So anyone can practice this without any extra cost. Now coming to the integration part. So will you cover S/4HANA API integration? Yes, we will cover integration with S/4HANA APIs along with cloud connector and setting up connection. We will also talk about APIHUB integration. So API management is also covered in this training. Do I need prior knowledge on OData service? No, you do not need to have. We will provide complimentary session also on OData basics, because our major technique to communicate to different system is OData, Open Data Protocol. Can I also take this course in video mode as the training timing doesn't suit me? Yes. In fact, this course itself is available in video mode. Yes. So you can go through all the videos with your own pace, and whenever you have doubts, you can send out your questions to our official email ID. What tools do I need to practice this training? So we will use Business Application Studio tool like I showed you in the demo class. We will not need any local tool installation for development of workflows. It will be completely in the cloud through the browser. So what you just need is an internet connection and a browser to get started with this training. So what's the process to join this course? It's super simple. Just drop us an email on contact@anubhavtrainings.com. The email ID is flashing on your screen, and that's it. You can sign up for this training, and then you can also check the description of this video to find the course content and also the course page of this training. Having said that, that's the end of today's class. Thank you so much for joining this demo session. The thought for today is keep your face always towards the sunshine, and the shadow will fall always behind you. Once again, thank you so much for joining this demo session on BTP Cloud Workflow. I hope to see you soon in my next class. Have a nice day and goodbye.